Hello, and welcome to Unexplained Possibilities Podcast. I'm your host, Melvin the Crimson Taurus, and unfortunately, Niema can't be here tonight, but next month she is back in action and doing something special with Bonnie, so stay tuned for that. However, if I'm live and you're not blind and can read the title, then you already know I'm not alone. Joining me tonight is a woman who sees your black and white and chuckles. She walks that middle grave path, follows the calling of the crow to wherever it may lead. Please welcome the spirit speaking, spell casting, bad mama jamma herself, the Grey Witch, Zarina Crow.
Well, hi there, everyone. Blessings, blessings, blessings. Also, my little birdies and Mr. Melvin for having me on his fantastic show. I definitely look forward to tonight and see what happens.
Yeah. So far, so good. It's not too much of any technical difficulty, which I'm happy about, even though for whatever reason, the sound and stuff, it actually didn't want to start up. So that's why it took a little bit longer than it should have. But whew, welcome back, Zarina. It has been a minute.
It has. I have taken a great deal of time off. I was healing my mind, my body, and my spirit. And then just coming back to, uh, certainly the spirit's telling me, you need to get back to teaching, you need to get back to, your purpose and doing what you need to do. So a lot of things just, came to fruition and has moved forward as far as me starting my podcast, Witch Talk. I also have a group that I try to teach, and we have healing circles. We have a great amount of wonderful people that are just contributing to the growth process of the group, and no matter what the path, we are all learning.
Yep, it's very, very true. Although, of course, there's always that one prick who shows up. I know everything. I'm a master. I'm not learning shit. You're like, all right, buddy. And
I'm 50 and I'm still learning.
you have a compliment from Daughters of Lilith. She says, "Nice hair." She's
Oh,
she
thank
likes
you,
your hair.
thank you. I love my daughters of Lilith.
So, hello, doll. Hello, Nick. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us tonight. And here's something special that's going to happen. And I thank Zarina for this. She has agreed to pull maybe one or two tarot cards for you guys. If you're nice, that is. Or if you're naughty, you can be naughty and still get something. But it better be the right type of naughty, baby. You know, wink, wink. Yeah, so keep that in mind, guys. If you'd like a quick little reading, just ask and we'll figure out how to do it. But until then, let's jump into some stuff. Zarina, Grey Witch. Okay, so
Yes.
we hear about black magic, we hear about white magic, and all of this. What exactly is this gray area, this Grey Witch?
Okay, absolutely. When I first initially got into, witchcraft, paganism, and things of that nature, I studied, a lot of gypsy magic, Strega. I fell in love with hoodoo and voodoo and Santeria and just a few of the more like what we would say Yoruba religions. And then, of course, being a witch, you have to have the power to heal. And of course, you have to have the power to hex. You have to have that discernment and wisdom to know when to do what. And then, so as I kind of migrated to things, I learned, chaos magic. I learned, Gnostic magic, and, a little bit of walking that left hand path because you kind of have to know. a little of both in order to be aware and know how to defend yourself. Because, I've been in a few witch wars and I've had some shade and some dirty black juju thrown at me. And, you got to know how to protect yourself. So for me, when I say I walk into the gray, it is knowing how to both embody light and the dark, and to be able to have that ability to walk within both of those. I know that a lot of my dominion and what I've learned about the dark, ultimately changed my view on what it is to be an occultist, what it is to know working with the dark side, that it's termed. But, one of my first initial things that I learned when working in this path, because it's like this a little bit of trepidation that when you start to slide over on that scale, that it's a little daunting because, you've been and programmed with all this doctrinated information regarding the daemon, regarding this, regarding that. So it's almost like, for me, I was like, I had to pull the trigger because I knew that if I kept on that fence, that I was never going to be learning the things that I needed to learn. And it's like, I was always afraid of working with, spirit boards. And, I have a guide, Nana. She's like an older black lady in her 80s, and she's very curt. She'll say, well, if you're afraid of something and you don't learn how to use it, then it has control over you. And so I got my first spirit board, and I started sliding over towards learning that darker left hand path because uh, unless you know how to work with something and manage it and learn what your gifts and your powers within it, then you're always going to have something controlling you. And that was fear, and I didn't want that to, you know, be my lesson in that. So I did study about it. And, coming back into the middle, I definitely feel like a more rounded, magical, individual, definitely a better bruja, in order to know how to help people.
Okay, so that's interesting. It reminds me of Star Wars in a weird way because in Star
Uh
Wars you
huh.
have the light side, you have the dark side, but in order to truly master and understand the Force, you have to be on both sides. Otherwise, you don't understand it. You just think, no, this is bad and evil, and no, and like this is all
Hmm.
good, and it's like, truth is
I
more
went.
complicated than that.
I definitely went the way of the Sith for a while.
Nothing wrong with that. Don't worry, it's quite a few people who do. It's more fun anyway. So, um, so in your opinion, do you think that the association of black magic being bad and white magic being good, do you think that's accurate or it's just nonsense?
I think it's nonsense because when I learned to work chaos magic, there is no duality. Everything works hand in hand with one another. So it's just like you have to understand the nature and the balance of magic. But truly, I have to say that no matter what you work, it's in the intent of the person, the witch that's working it. I know from every type of religion, there's good and bad in everything. I mean, Christians slaughtered many thousands and thousands of people in the name of God. And, that's okay. But, when it comes to the dancing around like in voodoo and hoodoo and things of that, of like, ritual animal sacrifice, I'm not ashamed. I'll swing a chicken if I got to do what I got to do. And, but I've been to LAs, I've been to houses where people don't understand the reverence and the honor of what it is to, give these animals in sacrifice. to like when if we're doing an initiation or whatnot, and how that goes to the spirits, but it also goes to everybody in a community is all in the kitchen cooking the goat, cooking the chicken, and to serve and feed after that. So there's a lot of things that don't get told. That is a beautiful part of that ceremony. That it's just not slicing and dicing and it's not the devil's nowhere in that. Even they were sacrificing in biblical times to God. So it's just how you kind of look at things, your perception of it.
Yeah. And real quick, hello, Kitten, and hello, Stephanie. Welcome. Even if you're just popping in to say hello, I appreciate it. Zarina appreciates it. Everyone does.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
so it's interesting you mentioned sacrifice and taking out a chicken. From what I understand, well, no, from what I understand,
Yeah.
because let's be honest, a lot of times misconceptions comes from fear, and it comes from the media and Hollywood, and they paint the image of something that's not the full story. Um, from what I understand with voodoo, when they're doing a ritual, if they are going to kill and sacrifice a chicken or a pig, first of all, it has to be respectful. That animal has to be
Mm-hmm.
respected, and it has to be quick, no torture,
Yeah.
nothing like that, and it can't go to waste because you are taking a life,
Right.
and it's not easy to take a life, and if they don't respect it, if they aren't treating it as best as they can, then the Lua, they will punish you.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like, part of us uh, what I typically would do, I do the misa. Like I go in and I'm the diviner of the houses and I tell certain, just as I'm doing my psychic work or whatever, with either the luau or the rishas are saying. And it's like, when you sat there and you're, picking up feathers or plucking feathers, you really understand the it wasn't just that moment of when the life left. It does go, and everything is, used. I have feathers that I collected because they're powerful. They're powerful for me to understand that, life is a precious thing. And that it was initiating someone into their path with not malice or fear. It was just judgment and reverence. So it's definitely a lot to it, more than what the media portrays.
yeah, and then being that we live in a Western society, whether people want to admit it or not, Christianity is pretty much the religion over here, and they forget that, like you said, there was sacrifices in Christianity. I mean, didn't Abraham like switch out his kid for the
Mm-hmm.
lamb? And it's like, all right, you can kill this thing,
Yep.
It's like, come on now.
Yep.
So,
and very much. Oh, I'm so sorry.
oh no, I was done.
And
Yeah.
I was getting ready to say also in a lot of the native culture, or like even like certain places of certain types of traditions of witchcraft or Yoruba or different things, I've seen, people, shamans go out and, they sit and they meditate and they wait for that offering to present itself to them because they felt like the universe or, the creator sent them that, to fulfill whatever, ceremony that needs to happen, whether it's a healing ceremony or protection or whatnot. A lot of the times, especially snakes will show up, out of the blue, and just like they'll catch them, and then they give thanks because that was provided for them.
Yeah, so a good portion of this is Well, part of it's perception. Another part is,
Hmm.
it's culture. And honestly, we being people as a whole, need to try and understand each other a bit more and why we do certain things and how it's done versus how it's portrayed in a movie. It's, yeah,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Everybody thinks the coined, tradition of the witch is what you watch on Coven and VHS.
yeah, exactly.
That's what they feel. Even though there's a lot of good, history and a lot of accurate things in it. Um, you still have to be careful with what you've learned and what you share out there because not everybody's ready for
Yeah. What's the saying with great power comes great responsibility?
that. Yeah, pretty much.
So,
Peter
well,
Parker.
you know, and it is something to that because it's so easy to influence people, especially when you speak with authority, even though you have no idea what you're talking about. But if you look like you belong, then you belong, and no one's going to question it. So I want to know, and this could cause some drama, but how do you deal with people who speak out of their butt and they are quite literally influencing folks who don't know any better? Do you call them out or do you just ignore them? How do you handle that?
I have actually did both. I have definitely called a lot of people out because being raised in the traditions that I've been raised and you know, I've been to many circles that, these people couldn't even call a dime, much less a quarter. And they had no power. But yet they're enacting and titling themselves, oh, I'm a high priestess. But, you kind of come to me when you need things worked. But, you're the high priestess of your coven? Hmm, that makes no sense to me. And it's just like for me, I typically will say something, especially if the spirits are telling me something, because I don't want people to be led astray. I don't want people to be led wrong. I've been in a place when I was younger, when I was learning, and you're so apt and so prompt. You want to learn everything, and people will take advantage of that.
Mhm.
And that's probably my pet peeve is these little fluffy new age bunnies that come out to milk people of obscene amounts of money for their retreats or their programs or whatever. And I mean, I literally could pee more power than they have, And it's just, I'm so sorry, but it is. And I just like, that is my, I guess, my goats, I guess, of like, I'm trying to be very much more respectful that everybody has their place. But I'm like, especially when, like Betty or Veronica read a book from Book Barnes and Noble, and now they're the, suburban witch, it just doesn't work that way. Uh, and so it's just been interesting of just trying to really discern and listen to my spirits, and because Nano will tell me it ain't worth it, because in the end they'll figure it out
Yeah.
you know
Yeah. And I didn't see you pop in, but hello, Paranormal Witch, and hello, I'm going to butcher this name, Seven Guard. That's as close as I'm getting, buddy. Although I like your comment, peed power, $10 a jar. I like that. That's pretty good. Uh,
I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be so
no, no,
unladylike, but
it's
yeah,
fine.
that's yeah.
Like, boy, go for broke. You know what's crazy? Someone would probably purchase that if you
Yeah.
said, like, here you go, some urine power. You sprinkle this around, and you get something
Well,
going.
hoodoo urine is very a potent thing that you use. You lay it when you use it when you lay your red brick dust. You, because if you're the owner of your house you put a little bit of that magic juice in your red brick dust, swizzle it around, and before the morning sunrise, you lay that brick dust across your front of your doorstep, and now nobody who's going to mean you any harm is going to cross that red brick dust. If you go down in the south, you will see that in a lot of places, a lot of little businesses, that red brick dust, and that's your own juju juice is what I call it. Yeah, your juju juice.
All right, so I want someone in chat to do this. Let us know. Someone better experiment. Thank you. You don't have to film it, but I want to know what happens. I like that. That's pretty good. Juju juice. Personal juju.
Hmm.
Okay, so
It is.
speaking of protections and everything, how do you protect yourself? Because, like you said, there are folks who, for whatever reason, might get jealous or just want to cause you harm. Like, how do you protect yourself?
For me, I went through a heck of a lot of that this year. I had someone that it was just exactly that jealous, had some issues with me. And, I tend to, stoke stuff in people. I don't know why, for good or bad. You either like me or you don't like me, but I don't really care. But, so initially for me, I always ward and protect my house. Everything from, little herbal, you know, packets and poppets or whatever you do, or most of the time I use sigil work because I'm a chaos girl. So the sigil work is definitely for me my primary go-to. My egregores, of course, and that goes along with creating your chaos magic, and then certainly I have my guardians, whether it be my guerreros or, my Arishas Alua, and even my daemon. I got some kickbook daemon that work with me, and, not all daemon are bad, and not all angels are good. So take it if you will. I work with both. So, Archangel Michael has come and, kicked a few little creatures out, and then I've had some daemon protect me from some not so good stuff that, you know, would try to eat me through a portal, you know?
Oh, no, nope, you don't need that. Forget that. Nope.
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's all about, and I'm definitely a circle a person. When I'm working any magic, I am casting my circles. I'm following my guardians, and you know, it's it just depends on what level you are in the elevator.
Mm, okay. And hello, Sherlyn from Florida. Welcome. And hello, Leon. Welcome. So,
Leon's my home slice. He's my doctor in New Orleans.
oh, okay. So, well, hello from New Orleans. New Orleans. There we go. I try to say it like New Orleans.
Ex- yeah, exactly.
Oh, and hello, Logan. Been a minute. Hope you're doing well. So you mentioned before we got on air that you actually had a lot of growth and change in a positive way. Can you take us through some of that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. For a long time, I had just been in this space of a lot of, the Gnostic magic, working with the daemon, just that left hand path. And, I really realized that and being that gray witch, you have to learn both left and left and right. And it kind of showed me like a teeter totter that the daemon were on this side, the angels are on this side, and everything else, like the Norse, Egyptian, everything is kind of like all smushed in between. And I've got to, balance that teeter totter. So it was a little scary for me because, once you're so comfortable in just being in that left hand path all the time, and you have that just that relationship with them, it's like you don't want to offend anybody. You want to make sure you have time for everybody. So, I've come back more so over to the middle again, and just learning. I was very fortunate that I've been really, really, really on manifestation. I've been teaching a lot about manifestation, and one of the things uh, that had came to pass is literally I was manifesting the things that I need, the tools that I need, books that I need, and literally within a week it manifested, and it was literally my niece who is not. They're all Christian, but she found through this yard sale thing this whole huge box of witchcraft stuff, and she brought it to me from Mississippi. And for a Christian to bring her auntie a huge box of witchcraft stuff, from crystals to books to everything, um, it just amazes me how the creator, the universe works. And so I've been back to studying and getting back to gypsy magic, Appalachian magic, that granny magic, because I feel that is also within me. And there's a lot of people that I've connected with that need to know their path, need to know, how to access their granny magic, their ancestral magic.
That's interesting how that worked out. That's
Yeah.
huh.
And so I've kind of got a little bit of everything going on. So it's just like I kind of feel like if people want to learn about, how to rock with Stolas is my home slice. He's one of my Damon good guys, and he's kind of funny too because he has his own little personality. He's definitely very sarcastic like me, so I think that's why we get along really well.
Okay. Well, yeah, you got to find that energy that works with you. Otherwise, it's just a butting of heads. So, and
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned something very interesting, which I know some folks they have a hard time understanding, and that's not every angel is good and not every demon is bad. And
Mm-hmm.
me personally, I take it a step further, and I like to say that good, bad is more of a human concept to keep us in line and all of that. Whereas for them, they might be doing things because it's in their very nature or just because they're bored. I don't know. I don't speak to them. But um,
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting that you say that, though, because there are people who will preach and say that no, all angels are good. Period. They're servants of God. They serve humanity, and I just don't see how that's the case, especially if we view them as individuals with their own minds as well. Uh, how do you feel about that? Like, what
And
makes you say, or what experiences have you had where you you are able to say not everything is how it seems?
absolutely, I will tell you the most thing memory that ever changed my whole mind about duality, what we've been taught, is that when I moved back here to Indiana, I had had all my spiritual stuff pretty much packed, and so I'm trying to figure out what to take out because this is the first time in a long time I've just kind of had my own space to. Oh, everybody was excited. They're getting taken out of the totes. And, and so I have this very huge Archangel Michael statue. And I was like, man, I don't know if I want to put it up. I'm trying to make a space and a place for everybody because everybody has their own needs and how they like to be and where they like to be. And, I was just like, and when I work with Lucifer, I call him Lucy. Um, and, me being a medium and everything, I channel and talk to everybody and not everything from good, what they can say good to bad to ugly to everything. So gods, goddesses, avatars, you name it. So, Lucy says to me, why would I be upset if you put that up? And I said, well, everything in my life, I've always been taught, that duality and the doctrinated stuff that's still impregnated in your mind. And he says, well, are you ready to let go of that? I said, yeah, sure, yeah. And he said, I want you to put that up. That's my brother. I love him. So that forever changed my aspect of how I feel this real battle of things really is. I think that, there are a lot of, you know, things that has been impregnated in our memory from, early on church and, Bible school and all these things that had to, I felt like, indoctrinate us to have that one sheeple mindset,
Yeah.
But lest we forget, there's 66 uh, books in the Bible, and there are 33 that the Catholic Church cut out. So what does the other 33 say? You know? So I think there's a lot of things that's just misconstrued in context and what the King James Version is, because a lot of people don't really realize before King James published the that version of the Bible, he also wrote on demonology. So, here you have one person with a viewpoint writing on demons, but then also he critiqued and, I guess, did his cliff notes on what was going to go in the King James versions and what was amended, what was changed, what was translated incorrectly.
And King James was a nut. So got to throw that in there too.
Exactly.
Uh,
Yes, very much so.
so, but that's interesting. I actually didn't know he did a thing on demonology. So you taught me something new. And
Yeah, I will definitely have to send you that link because it's very interesting because I was like, hmm, you know?
so,
And like even the book of Enoch, when it talks about the Nephilim, that's a definite rabbit hole to get into.
yeah. Last month I had Curtis Joseph on, and oh boy,
Hmm.
he knows all about that. That's a giant rabbit hole and a headache and just confusion. And we were talking about the Watcher Angels, the Nephilim, the
Yep.
Anunnaki or Nuki, whatever they're called. It's like, oh gosh darn it,
Yeah.
they slept with human women
Yeah.
and they fell. And this, well, I mean, women are hot, so I get that. But man,
Well, us women do have that. We do kind of like a little bit of that tall men. So, I think it was probably a mutual kind of thing.
oh yeah. So, great. I was born in the wrong era. I needed some wings and just like, hey, baby, look at me now.
Well, I always feel like you're a superhero in your own way, Melvin.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. You're the only one, but I appreciate it. Um,
I know. Well, you did my voiceover, so I still am going to use that eventually. So,
yeah, well, it's there for you. Um,
hmm
so the spirit communication. When did
yes.
you learn that you can communicate with spirits, and how freaked out were you initially?
Well, initially, my first ever experience is when I was in Virginia. I was 6 years old, and the lady that had died in the house had, just come over and hung out by the bed, and I would be freaking out. I would just like cover my head and just leave a little place for my little nose to breathe. And then as I grew older, especially around 13, I started kind of like, I think I'm schizophrenic or something. But as I grew, it was more so when I was in my early 20s that I really understood uh, that I saw things and I knew things that were different. And I was not going to go back to ever unseeing those things. And so I had a few things that, when you're first coming into this and you're hearing voices and you're learning to discern, energy. one of the most important things is when you learn how to discern energy is just not feeling the energy itself. But I'm a smell person, so I smell their energy because everybody has a different energy makeup. They have a different scent. So someone is have some energy in the Fey line or Nephilim or an angel, or they're just human, you know, it's reptilians. I've had experience with reptilians.
Mm.
It's definitely, I think, that insight of incorporating everything that kind of makes you really aware of things. And sometimes it has been scary or freaked out. Like when I've worked on cold cases, I've solved two. One was a 10-year-old murder case, and also missing cases. So, uh, to get back to that spirit communication is, some of it of like, even I've even had an interaction with death a couple times, scared the crap out of me. But I hope that answered the question as far as what it's kind of like on every end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And a lot of good things. Seeing people helping them cross over to the light is one of the most amazing things, energy wise, that you will ever significantly feel. It forever changes you.
Now, that's interesting though that you're able to smell and get that scent. And oh, wait, real quick, you have another compliment
Hmm.
here from Leon. Side note: I've personally known Zarina for years, and if you're wondering about meeting a person that got juice, you found one. Legit. Thank you both for putting this excellent masterclass on display. So, all right, you got the juice, all right. $10 a pop, people. $10 a pop. Uh, but yeah, it's interesting that you're able to smell and get that scent, and they do say that uh, the sense of smell is the strongest thing tied to memory. So you could just be walking along in the store, and I don't know, you smell a strawberry, and next thing you know, you're thinking about Cupid or somebody. So
Hmm.
I'm so curious about this now.
Yeah.
What do, do how can I put this? Do angels have individual scents, or are they all? Do they all smell the same?
They actually have their own collective scent. There are little nuances between certain ones, like, Michael has, the archangels. Well, I like to call them the angelics. That's what I feel that they like me to term them as. So the arcs, they have a definitely more stronger kind of like presence and smell. And you know, like the different classes of angels are certainly, they have different smells as well. Um, but I definitely, you could feel that they're, along with that smell, is just such a force of energy when I'm working with them, and each of them has their own energy signature. And like, Metatron, I've worked with him, and also, like I said, Michael, and then, also when we're working the left hand path, Mother Lilith is like sex and fire all at the same time. That's the only way I can describe her smell and her energy. Is
Oh,
just like,
Lilith, I get. I had a visit from her before, and uh,
yes, yes.
I get it. It was very interesting because I was speaking to a friend who's psychic, and she's done work with Lilith, and I felt something like it was. I don't know. It's weird. It was almost hypnotizing, and I was like,
Hmm. It
okay,
is.
well, oh, this isn't right. This is different. And I asked her what Lilith looks like to her, and this is actually going to segue into something. And she
Hmm.
told me that, or excuse me, first I said, for me, Lilith comes to me as a redhead and short, petite, nice bum.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Oh, that's interesting." And I said, "Why is that?" Because to me, she comes as someone who is taller and has dark hair, voluptuous. And I was like, "Huh." And I have a thing for redheads. So it's like, oh, I see what you're doing, Liller. I got you. So it's like, okay. So I just always thought that was interesting. And
Yeah.
do they will they come to you or appear to you how we might imagine them, or
Absolutely.
yeah, in a way where we might like it, so it's not so scary or something.
Oh, absolutely. She just appeared to me in two different forms, you know? And then, but it's almost as well, it's her tone that I feel when she comes and she's, residing with me. And I feel like her energy just like emanates. I can feel her now because she's like, "Oh, y'all talking about me. Let me just jump on in." So it's just like even your mannerisms will slow and like you feel just very like, just kind of like the seductive, mesmerizing feel, and just everything kind of just slows down a little bit for me when she is present. And like with other energy, like Michael, I thought I was going to die the first time I met him. He was like, all of a sudden, I felt like my heart just decreased, like down to like, I didn't even feel like I was alive anymore. And like, he gave me his message. And as he left, my heart rate, everything went back to normal.
Hmm.
And like when the first time I ever saw death, I was working as a receptionist in this little title agency, and there was this older lady that would come in. She worked with the condos, and she came in and she was sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear like the little ding of the door, the bells, and I'm like, what was that? Because nobody opened it. And then I saw, death, the Reaper come in, and I was like, and I froze, and I was like, he's like, you know, you're fine. I'm not here for you. And he points to her, and I was like, I literally just, I just, like, it was just like this most immense relief in your life. And it was like, then he kind of just laughed and, in this little smug way. But then I just really realized that, they have their own roles. There's, it's somewhat, there's the head honchos and there's some, the workers under there, and some of us when we ascend, some of the hard lessons that we are learning now, especially about justice and compassion and mercy and the follow through, to know that you have to do what your purpose is so that when we are ascending and we're moving into those next conscious levels, some of us will become reapers. Some of us will have to understand the hard decisions. I'm writing a book about that. A female that becomes a grim reaper and all the cases that she has to deal with. And we move on in this other consciousness to other things. We're just not going to be up there playing hopscotch or, dominoes.
And hello, I'm gonna butcher your name, but hello, Amber Runyon. I'm sure I butchered it. And you got another compliment from her. You are amazing. Love you, my sister. So,
I have a lot of good support and a lot of what I call my birdies. I love them. So they're just my heart. Um, and I did wanted to go back and tell you, you were asking me something about, being able to experience things and smell things, even within the missing cases. That's significant because, smelling a decomposing body, or even like, in the clues that you give them, the smell is what you definitely pay attention to, because you could be like, smell the earth and like it's like a farming area, or it smells like an urban area. Things like that is when you're learning, and I'm teaching people about mediumship. That's definitely one of the number one things I teach them to help identify clues in case they're helping somebody.
Okay. And I'm glad you brought up teaching. Oh, excuse me. Oh gosh, onion? E- Amber, that's as close as I'm getting. Now, unfortunately, you're gonna have to live with it. But okay. But thank you for putting how you say your name in there. I'm just a butcher of names. It happens. I can't even get my name right. I don't know. Mervin or something like that. Mervin? There we go. Mervin. That's my name now. Um
You actually come up in a reading for me the other day, and my friend didn't know about you, and she says, "Yeah, it's like Mervin or whatever," and it's like, "No, Melvin." And it was that I just literally, so I just want to forgot to tell you, I didn't mean to interrupt,
oh
but
no.
you came up in my reading.
Oh no. Well, shoot. Right on. Go me.
Uh huh.
Or well, go you.
Exactly. Exactly.
um so yeah, you mentioned teaching, and this is something I think is important that not enough people talk about, but how do you teach someone to differentiate between something that wants to cause harm versus something with good intentions?
I definitely. I do a lot of teaching with divination and energy, and a lot of the people that are learning from me, I definitely ask them, "What do you feel?" Because your innate gut, your sense of self, is that fight or flight kind of part of your brain is going to absolutely tell you, hey, this is not a good thing. This is we got a little mischievous, elemental being here, and or versus, hey, we got some mischievous fae, you know. So it's like when I'm teaching them, I always say, how do you feel? What do you smell? If you were to touch, will you have the confidence to reach out, or would you hesitate and retract? And things of that measure to teach them, you know, how to work with their senses. Uh, and like with sight, if your eyes are closed, what energy do you see? Do you see red? Do you see dark? Do you see, you know, making tangible ways that they can access their senses to discern. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. That's a good way of teaching as well. That makes a lot, and it's forcing you to trust your instinct more, which is something that we don't do a lot. We always second guess ourselves, and I was told, don't do that. Go with your first instinct. Sometimes you have to.
Mm-hmm.
If it's wrong, it's wrong. Whatever. But 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be right. So
I will tell you, most of the time I'm 99.9% right, but I will own it if I'm wrong. But it's very rarely, and I question myself. I've had something that I really thought the spirits are telling me. Hey, you know, and they're just saying, just wait, not yet. And I was just like, oh, because it's like we want to know right then. I was like, especially Nana. And Nana is like, my very, she is, everybody who I've read for, they know about Nana. And they're like, she'll get the shoe after you, the chancellor. You know what I'm saying? But,
um,
but
s-
yeah,
so Nick has a question for you, and he
sure.
would like to know if you've ever had any interactions with Jin.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It was so awesome that I get to tell this story because I was thinking about it. I wish I would have brought his box over. So I was in a smack in the middle of driving through Alabama, so I just took a hot moment, and I said, well, hey, let me just stop in this little thrift store. I just it just caught out the corner of my eye, and I said, let me just get out and just meander around a little bit, and you know I was like going through the aisles, and everybody knows I love boxes, and I saw this one box, and I was like, I was like, man, do I really want to spend that $6 on that box? And so I was like, no, let me just go on out the door. And I was like, there was like something I could not get out that door. I said, okay, I'm gonna listen. And so it was. I put him in the front seat of my little van, and I'm just tootling on down the road, and I hear, "Hey," and I'm like, "Oh, hey," and he's like, "Don't be alarmed. I'm a gin." I was like, okay, right on. I could dig that. So I'm like, trying to in my mind, you know, take this all because I've never worked with Gen Energy. It would be something that I've always wanted to work with and do, and so I get him home, and I put the box where he likes to be, and I put him some frankincense and myrrh. I wanted to, I always like when people come home, my spiritual gang, my family, there's a little bit of everybody, I always try to make everyone feel at home. I know that's weird, but that's just like my family. And so I did that, and I was like, I was going to try to like put some like Arabic music on or whatnot, something really, really super cool. And he goes, dude, I just like the Eagles. And I'm like,
Huh.
so it completely threw me off of like, I'm thinking, they've been around for a hell of a long time, you know. I'm pretty sure they just didn't like just Arabic music. So I learned. I've learned with everyone that's kind of come into my little spiritual family here in the house.
That's interesting. The Eagles. So what?
Yes, and he
Oh, well, go ahead, Zarina.
and he's like, what I learned is like, how we see on the media all as three wishes. It's not like that. And he has a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom, a lot of protection. Even Leon has experienced what I call my Jen. He had visited me, and he had never known anything about it. And then I said, "Here, I want you to, take this box." And he's like, "Ooh, this is very heavy." And he had his own experience with my Jen, and it's just like it's so it's kind of interesting how different people, feel that different energy. But so that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, how do you feel about the lore? It says that Jinn were originally supposed to inherit this world, but God or whoever was in control said, "Nah, we're going to give it to man." And Jinn were put in a parallel, similar world, and like
Hmm.
they have similar technology. It's just parallel. They're a bit more spiritual, well, a bit more, a lot more spiritually aware, and some are angry at humanity because of what happened, and the three wishes, that type of thing, comes about with them being tricksters, and it's a monkey paw situation. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily for your benefit, it's for them to get a laugh and kind of mess up your life, and then they go wherever they go. What do you think about that?
I do feel that it is both. I do feel like there is a lot of angry ones because, once I call him K because I won't say his whole name, but once K came into my life, it's like for me, I'm 99.9% by myself all the time. So I know it sounds crazy, but that's how I am the way I am with, the insight and the power because I spend my time with my people, my relationships with my spirits, and I talk to them. I don't very ever rarely get anything out of a book. It's all spirit taught. But going back to what I'm saying is that when you talk to the beings, uh, they tell you the history, they tell you the good, the bad, the ugly from their viewpoint. and that there are, a percentage that want to do good, that want to try to help and restore and be, a benevolent being. And then, of course, you're always going to have the angry ones that, take to revenge and are drawn by, adversity and war and calamity and death. There's always going to be some type of being, whether it be Jen or anything otherwise, that feeds on whatever humanity has decided to you know fudge up that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's funny. I like that. Don't fudge it up,
yeah.
guys. Idiots. Um,
Yeah, I know. I think they're just sitting there with popcorn sometimes and just like, man, I bet on number 229, and look what he did. Can I tell you something amazing?
yeah,
That was shown to me.
yeah.
So I'm very much one of a prophetic dream, and I think this will be interesting because I don't think a lot of people know this, or who has been shown it, but they certainly showed me. Is that I was in a dream sequence at one time, and so it's like, how you flip a light switch on and off and it does that little blinky thing?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's exactly how it was in the dream. And when the light switched up, it was like four or five beings around me. And they're saying, we're rebooting 351176, 351176. And so I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden, I woke up out of the dream, and I never remember anything. Y'all know, most of us, I got part timers, not all timers, but part timers. I can't remember nothing. And so that number had, been stuck in my head, 351176. And so as I've got to go down through this journey with understanding what that number meant, is that that's our original, if you will, soul number. And like, I was born in the first generation of souls, so my number is that way, the way it is. And I've met other people, and I automatically know their code, their soul code, and what generation they were born in. And it was just like some of the experiences that I have had, it has been so uncanny. And one of the things I was, definitely writing about or wanting to teach people is how to, cheat the matrix with cheat codes. I tell a lot of people this is like, once you know your soul code and doing, like, I don't think we've ever talked about being a technomancer. They showed me about technomancy. And that we can use those codes that are soul codes and different other codes to put out like almost a sigil out into like the media world for it to build and take energy. And that's why they gave me teaching people about technomancy. And that those soul codes and different things kind of are able to help you cheat a little bit and manifest stuff. And since I've learned this, and I've like literally had stuff that happened that'll be like, no, this should not just happen. It's like crazy. Like, one of the things that happened is like I would attach this code that I was doing that they showed me to a picture. And like, I always wanted to go to the Caribbean. I wanted to go do, see the fish in the water in one of those little hotel things. And I kept posting that and tagging that. And within a month later, I got invited to go on a cruise, and it was paid for.
What?
Yes, I'm telling you, hands to Jesus, Buddha, and whoever's up there. So, and it was just like one of the visions that they showed is like, almost how like a disco ball is. It's like we are this poor soul energy in the middle of it, like this, like energy of just, it's beautiful. And then almost like a disco ball, all our different life cycles are like on one of those little discs reflecting out into the universe. And that's how we have all those kind of mirrors of our different selves and different lifetimes, because that's kind of how they showed me a visual how to understand our soul and how we're connected in all those mirrored lifetimes.
Huh. Well, son of a monkey's uncle. It's pretty freaking amazing.
There's a lot of cool stuff that they're sharing with me. I won't get into the. That'll be another topic on probably mine. You'll have to come on with me. Is talking about the prophetic dreams that I had of about what's going on. But we'll stay off that topic on here because I don't want to freak people out. So I want
Okay.
to keep it. Yeah.
No, that's a good tease. You see, you know what you're doing. She set this up, people. She knew. Uh,
So you'll have to come on that episode with on mine with Witch Talk because you I want your voice on that one, Mr. Melvin.
okay. So you work with a little bit of everything. You know, you don't
Hmm.
discriminate. Um, Papa Legba, I'm sure you've done things with. What about uh, forgive my Spanish, folks, but Santa Muerte. Have you
Yes,
Santa Muerte
absolutely.
and Archangel Michael? We know. So how does their energy diff? How is it different from one another? Because they are all powerful in their own right. You know, Santa Muerte is associated with death. Papa Legba
Hmm.
is associated with the crossroads and opening the gates to our ancestors. And Archangel Michael is the right hand of God and will protect you. So, how does their energy differentiate from one another?
I know with Michael, it is a very like when I feel his energy kind of swoop in, it's almost like this fast force of cool Arctic wind. I mean, it's not cool where it would freeze you, but it's cool to let you know that his presence is here. And it's like it's just a force, and it's just amazing because it's like a lot of the times because his energy is so strong when I channel him. Because like when I channel, I'm in the back seat, man. I'm just like in the back seat, and we're at a drive-in, and everything's going on, and I can see it on the screen most of the time. And but that's it's just like that type of like authority when he comes in. It's just that energy. And when I work with, Saint Marte, she has different caminos. She has different paths. Some are for healing, some are for just, protection, definitely. Some is for love. It just depends on what color, what path you work with her. And she's just extremely powerful. But she's more like it seems like I feel like a masculine feminine energy at the same time because there's that side of her that she's absolutely loving and compassionate, and especially with women. And but she's really quick to tell you, you better straighten yourself out, sis. You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. But then there's that unnegated power where she is just a fortress of just like, you mess with mine, and you go fluff around and find out. So that's her. And then who was the third one that you mentioned?
Papa Legba.
Papa Legba. Now, Papa Legba, has always been a funny character to me because there's aspects of him like Camino's as well, where he's represented as a little kid. He loves candies, he loves toys, but then he's also represented as an old man with a cane. And, definitely more on one occasion, I've, did something with Papa, and all of a sudden I'm just driving down the street and confirmation there's just this man with cane right there. I was like, thank you, Papa, for validating that. I appreciate it. So it's just they have their own personalities and characters, definitely, but all powerful in every aspect of who they are. Um, and especially Ogun. Ogun is my father, and in the African tradition, and his lessons has been so immense, but sometimes strong. Sometimes, because I'm hard headed, I'm a Scorpio. Sometimes they have to really thwop us to get us to pay attention and get over and say, get in your lane, honey, because all that other shit don't matter.
Now, let's say there's someone coming into this for the first time. They are a beginner. They're a little hesitant, they're afraid, but they want to experience this spirituality. They truly want to learn and understand it. What would you, or who would you suggest they try to reach out to that isn't someone that comes off extremely strong, a being or deity that's won't come off extremely strong, won't slap them for messing up, and it's just good to get to know and get you those baby steps going.
Absolutely. A lot of the times when I'm starting to help someone find their path, I always say their ancestors. Um, you know, and to also understand that we have ancestors that are known and unknown. We have ancestors that are benevolent and the not so good ones. So I always say when a certain person is wanting to, kind of ease their way into this, is work with your ancestors. And specifically, I would say just set up a little altar, put a little white tablecloth, a glass of water, and maybe a picture of someone's past, not anyone that is certainly present and currently living. And then from there, you can even, go on to, I can explain later on what a bovita is. But, just that simple and a little white candle, and saying to them, my ancestors known and unknown that are benevolent, please guide and watch over me. And, bringing that just little bit of acknowledgement and interaction, they're going to see a shift and a change, uh, little nuances that they're not going to, like, kick the door in and, they're just going to, like, because that's their family and they're going to know how to, that's their bloodline, how to, like, how am I going to get reach this person, because they are the way they are, whether it's through music or whatnot.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then a lot of times people will say they have their own little sign for things. Now, if something's kicking the door in, we're gonna have some problems on a couple of different levels. So,
Well, although a lot of the times they kicked the door in on me because I was literally in boot camp. And I was like how, like, when I first started working with the Norse and Freya, or Sekhmet and the Egyptian, I was like, that is like no holds barred, cage wrestling. Let me tell you, because those particular deities, they're pretty like, they're boss. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, no, thank you. I'm just hey, Eros, come over here, and Dionysus, come over here. Bring something to drink and eat, and we'll just relax.
But you do have a lot of Venus coming in for you, and you do have a lot of Jupiter energy surrounding you. And when I see that, and then also Pluto, I just feels like in the next 3 to 7 months there's going to be a big shift for you, and a lot of the temporary things are going to fall away. So I don't know why, but I just had to kind of jump in, and Spirit was telling me that for you.
Venus makes a lot of sense because I'm a Taurus, Libra, so and that's just all
Hmm.
Venus. So,
For some reason, I keep, if it's okay, I keep hearing like romance is coming for you. So definitely, I feel like you've got a few interesting few months ahead of you.
all right, redhead, nice butt. Let's get it going. Come on. Uh, okay, so we have a couple of questions left, and then if it's all right with you after those questions, would you be okay pulling a couple of tarot cards for some
Sure.
people?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll do whatever you need, hon.
All right. So, um, Nick is asking, or is he asking? What are you saying, Nick? Hold up. John Razimus often talks about the connection between corners of rooms and the spirit realm. Is the corner of the room a waypoint for spirit entities? Have you found this to be a real phenomenon?
Yes, absolutely. He is on point for that because that is one of the ways I ward is I always put something in the corner. Typically, I'll use little camphor cubes that you can put a dime in, and you put them in the four corners of every room. And of course, when they dissipate, certainly change them. But the dime represents money and luck coming to you, all four corners foundation in your house. But the camphor wards off those negativity. And, of course, sigil and seal your stuff too. But those types of things, those corners are, he's absolutely right. Sorry, I kind of went in a little
Oh
circle.
no, that's fine. And hello, Simona. Welcome. Okay, and Kitten is asking if you know anything about Astaroth.
Astra.
Yeah, the demonic entity Astaroth. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, Astaroth, Astaroth. Um, actually, for me, I, he shows me more so stuff when I'm doing numerology, when I'm doing stuff with the spirit board, and more so of like divination. He likes for my, hold on just a second. He likes for my girls to come out, my little, let me show you these. You turn into divining rods. This is Beatrix and Margot, and I have another one. But anyway, back to the topic of Ashtaroth. I find that when I work with him, I find there's a lot more knowledge base of like how he teaches me how astrology or numerology applies to certain aspects of life, or it's a very practical kind of, I would say, almost having a practical application with him, you know. And I don't know if you've ever worked with him before, but he's certainly definitely one to work with you know uh, developing your psychic gift.
Okay. Well, that
I was trying.
that makes a lot of sense in Kitten's regards with developing psychic gifts and abilities. So I won't
Hmm.
say why. I won't give out your personal information, Kitten. But
But that's the Astaroth card. This is my Damon deck,
mhm.
and that's what he that comes up for him. Hold on, you try to go the other way. I'll read that for her if you let me put my
Yeah,
glasses on.
yeah. Go
Hold on,
ahead.
because I'm an old lady, I can't see
Oh,
nothing.
you're not old
So
at all. No talk like that.
So this is interesting because the Astaroth card in this deck is justice. So when this is applying with her, and I think why she is drawn to work with him is because she is going to learn how to right some wrongs for people. And it says it tells how the angels fell and reveals past, present, and future, and teaches liberal science. So that's exactly what I just said with that. Is that he teaches me how everything kind of just merges and relates to each other. How it kind of, you know,
Mhm.
how it all works.
Yeah.
It's like a string theory, I guess.
So we have about 10 minutes left. So if someone
Hmm.
would like a quick reading, say so now or forever hold your peace until the next show, anyway. So speak now, darn it. And Zarina will be the one pulling cards for you, which thank you so much for this. This is awesome.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This is my pleasure to to just be able to help people and help them have an understanding of, you know, how to just kind of like I would say cheat the matrix, have a good psychic on hand so you know where, hey, I don't want to do that. I should have listened to my psychic. I don't know how many of my people said, man, I wish I would have listened to you. And, well, here we are.
Yep. Okay.
And, you know, mhm,
So the kitten says thank you. She appreciates
you're
that.
welcome.
And Nick says he will take one. He would like one. So
Sure.
um is
Absolutely.
yeah, this will be a general. So whatever comes out comes out. So
Yeah. She
boss lady,
tells me
you
the
got it.
She tells me the third and fourth card because my gypsies are present. Esme is here hanging out, and uh, Nick has a lot of opportunities that are coming up for him. There has been some mileage. That's the word that they give me, mileage. That you've come a long way, and that at one point you thought, "Oh my God, I'm not going to get there." It was just exhausting. You had a wall, but you had that tiny little bit of you that just kept pushing and going through, and you're going to get there. You're going to get to that goal. And on the other side of this, there's just going to be such a bigger door that's going to open for you. So it's like they're telling me, tell him don't give up in whatever he's doing, because whatever small progress there is, that's still progress. And this is the card that balances that. That's the Four of Pentacles for you. So it just tells me that whatever you're doing, it's building to, again, four is foundation, Pentacles is money. So it's just don't give up on the dream, keep working. And when it becomes hard or daunting, just remember, you know, you're already there. See yourself in this manifestation, that you're already there, and feel it. Like, oh man, it feels so good that whatever this work that I did, that I put in, back in the day, man, it just feels so good that you're in all that aspect of where you see yourself already at. And then you have the Six of Wands. And Wands is always about direction, and it's a ballerina, and she's curtsying, just like she's done. So it's just telling me there's a period where things are definitely going to end. You're going to take your bow. You're going to, like, hey, I've done this. So, I just want you to know that they say it's worth the effort. So that's what they gave me for Nick.
Okay. And next up is Kitten or Jin. She's asking for one.
Okay. She says seventh card. Okay. So the seventh card for you is the Seven of Pentacles. So Pentacles is always money, always career, always house, home, everything of that nature. So with a seven, this tells me that you know you've went through a lot of change, and you didn't know exactly where you were going at the time, but now you're starting to assert yourself. You're starting to have more confidence. And the lady is just like looking back and say, yeah, I've got this. I'm baking bread. I'm creating. So it's just almost that I see you going forth and moving forth, kind of like, writing your own ticket. That there's a lot of there were a lot of negative and naysayers in your life, that kind of downs you, down your decisions and your processes, and had been extremely judgmental. But I feel like you're moving out of that whole environment, and that uh, I see maybe school. There's black and white logo of the school, that I see you walking into. So it's just, for me, there's a lot of just letting go of what no longer serves you, and moving forward to very much capture uh, the moments of your life, and make them count.
All right. And Nick said thank you for his reading. I'm sure Kitten's going to say thank you in a moment. and
Oh yeah, no
yeah.
worries.
And next up is Simona. She's asking for a pool.
Okay. They tell me to go to 5 for her, and she is going through a lot of change. There's a 5 is always a symbol of change, and it literally showed me. My guy showed me her in a car. You know, she had luggage and all this kind of stuff. You know, in her car, and in her mind, she was free. It was like, you know, the window down, the air blowing, and that just sense of like whatever she's leaving, when she leaves it, it'll just like, you know, whether this is a spiritual one or a physical or emotional, it's just like she made that decision to let go of what no longer serves her, and that peace and that freedom of her literally on that highway, that's what she's becoming, you know. And I just really feel like a lot of the decisions that she has had to make is hard and difficult. Her cup that she got the 6 of Cups. So in the 6 of Cups, for me, you know, it's like in this particular card, you see she's had to leave things behind, and it was a hard thing to do. She you know, just it seemed like, you know, she wanted to make everyone happy in the situation. But, you know, like I said, moving forward with the 6 of Cups is she just got to stay focused on the things that she has to do for herself. That knowing that her worth and her importance is so much more. So that's what they wanted to show me, and that her ancestors are with her, and she doesn't hear that, but it's like every time drums are playing, that's them trying to get her attention.
Well, either that or we're going to war. But uh, so uh, okay, and Stephanie would like one as well.
Sure,
From the
absolutely.
Cauldron Witch, Stephanie.
All right, all right. So Miss Stephanie, she has got a Page of Cups. So this is telling me, you know, she is out to sea. She's it kind of like trying to keep everything together. It's like the sea is the storm, the crazy. I feel like, you know, she feels like she's the only one at times that is, you know, keeping things together. And, you know, she just is wondering, is this ever going to change? And, you know, what the spirits speak to me is um, she says to you, she says, what you allow will continue. Um, and it is only when you decide that you don't have to be perfect to accept help or to accept love, and to be able to balance and know that you have to put yourself first at times. And that there is a lot of the goddess energy, the divine feminine, that is going to come to you and surround you to help guide you, for you to move in a more magical mindset, to understand the ratios between the physical world and the magical world, because they are wanting to attune you and to attune your gift to a higher level. Um, and but you have to let go and trust that and not be afraid.
Okay. And finally, Sherlyn from Florida. She's asking for a reading.
Awesome. Okay, so Shirley gets 3. So 3 is also a number for me that is building up to something. You know, it's building up to setting a foundation or setting something more so solid and stable in your life, whether it be emotionally or physically or even spiritually, probably all 3. And then you have the Two of Swords. And the Two of Swords is always about communication. And it seems like whoever that you're in conflict with, things will eventually, reside down. But it's not going to be one person admitting this or that. It's going to have to be like more of a mutual thing and come to an understanding of, well, we just, agree to disagree kind of things, and realize that some of those things that are between you and whomever this person is, they're really no big thing at all. They're just small things. And in the context of what is happening in your life and what's happening in the world, is to tell you to make amends. Make amends, because there's no reason to keep any roots of discontent, because it doesn't help you and it doesn't help that other person. And just to heal whatever relationships that you can, because it's important for your spiritual growth.
All right, there we go, guys. Everyone is saying thank you so much for the readings. Everyone appreciates it. And thank
Hmm.
you for, taking time out to do so as well. That's awesome.
Oh, no problem.
Out of curiosity, when you do your readings, like, do you ever feel a certain way? Like, you get warm, you get cool, you get ticklish, or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. There are times like I do feel the heat change, or like a frequency change will go off in my ear. Or, definitely that sense, that smell comes in. But also when I'm watching you, I can see your energy shift, or people that, come up behind you. It's kind of like, they're pointing like, Melvin, I'm going to tell him this, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, pretty
Okay.
much.
All right. I was just curious. And I think
Yeah.
that is a good spot to end it. Can you believe it? Time already flew by. We're at our end, unfortunately. Um,
Well, I
z-
absolutely loved it, Melvin. Thank you so
well,
kindly.
yeah, thank you for coming on again. I enjoyed, everyone enjoyed. If someone wanted to reach out to you or listen to your podcast, where would they go? How would they go about doing that?
They can just add me, Zarina Crow, on Facebook, and then I can put them in our group, as far as with the word talk, because sometimes I do go on there. I do go live, and I also do little workshops or just different things within chats, and we do have a healing circle. So they could just add me, and I'd be happy to, they needed a personal reading, take it from there.
All right. And you should be able to find that link in the description down below. And if I didn't put it down there, I will put it down there. That I might have forgotten, knowing me. But while you're digging around down there, be sure to follow Unexplained Possibilities on Facebook, Twitter, or, well, formerly known as Twitter. I don't know what the X thing now, Reddit, Instagram, all that good stuff. Click it, say hi, send a message, do your thing. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel for not just this podcast, but other content that I may or may not do, depending on if I'm lazy or not. But either way, it's fun stuff. Serena, thank you again for coming on. Really appreciate it.
No
And
problem.
thank you all for joining us. And remember, guys, there are things that go bump in the night. Go ahead and tell them hi. Bye, everybody.
Bye.